All right, everybody. We are live. Looks like we got a few people in the chat. If you're in the chat, let us know who you are and where you're from. I see a couple familiar names in here already. Doug Dixon. I don't know if he's a Turner. We'll have to see who he is.
All right,
For question.
everybody. We are live. Looks like we got a few people in the chat. If you're in the chat, let us know who you are.
All right. I'm just cleaning something up here.
I muted the live. I had to mute one of them. Sorry.
Oh, is that what was echoing?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
We had both going. I had to mute the YouTube and leave the Zoom on.
Okay. No, that's good. I actually thought it was on my end, so thanks for doing that. All right, so guys, we are getting ready here. Like I said, if you are in the chat, let us know, and we will get started. We are super lucky today. We're going to have Chris and Christy from Easywood Tools. They're going to tell us all kinds of great stuff about Easywood Tools, how they got started, and then most importantly, I think to all of us, is Christy's going to demonstrate some awesome turning techniques and do a turn with the Easywood tool. So it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you have questions, I'm monitoring the chat, but also Amy is, as she has time, because Amy's actually covering the store. So if you have any questions, put them in the chat here. I will do my best to get them to Chris and Christy. It might take a few minutes to work them in a little more naturally, but I'll get them to them. And that way everyone can get their questions answered. We also have Doug Dixon. He's in the chat, and I'm sure he has some knowledge too. But I think we're going to just focus with Chris and Christy and see what's going on. So let me turn off my spotlight. Welcome, Chris and Christy.
Hello, everybody. We are very happy to be here.
Hello, everybody.
I am Christy Caliendo.
That would make me Cris Caliendo.
And we are with Easywood Tools. As Chad said, thank you. We're excited to be with everybody here. We'll just spend a couple of minutes giving you a little history of the company. Everyone's always interested in that. And then I'm going to skedaddle out to our shop and get everything set up. Chris will be asking questions, and I'm going to do a quick demo. So with that being said, you know, we get a lot of, how did Easywood Tools start? And I'm going to give you the quick version here, which is back in 2008, Easywood Tools was founded. It started before '08, but it wasn't founded with a final product till 2008. It was started by an avid woodworker and wood turner who had a fabulous idea. Let's make wood turning safer, easier, more productive, and most importantly, more readily available to people of all skill levels, from beginner up to professional. Let's focus on turning, which is what we all like to do. So he started with the Easy Rougher. That was the design for a replaceable carbide turning tip tool to accomplish that. He knew that he needed a carbide supplier because where he first started was, we all know planers, it was the rougher, the square one. That was being used in industrial applications like planers, and it was too aggressive for wood turning. It wouldn't work. So he knew he needed something that could be adapted specifically for wood turning. So he went on a search to find who could do that, and he found Chris. Chris has spent his career in carbide, so he reached out to Chris through our carbide manufacturing company just outside Chicago and told him the idea. Chris rose to the challenge and said, you know what, I can make that. So he had designed and manufactured the first carbide cutter that was specifically for wood turning. From that point forward, as Easywood Tools grew and became the first one ever out there, took kind of the turning world by storm. Chris was involved with the design and manufacturing of every single cutter after that, evolving into the round, the diamond, a smaller, a larger cutter, all the different shapes and sizes that would follow. Fast forward to 2016, And that is when Chris and I purchased Easywood Tools and brought both sides of the business under one umbrella. So from that point forward, our focus has been our commitment to innovation, which you're going to see in the demonstration. We'll show a few of the products, continue to innovate with first out there production of great advancements in carbide turning tools and accessories. And also our same commitment to quality, dedication. I think what truly sets us apart is our team. It's not us, it's the team that we have here in Lexington, where we are today, that manufactures all of our products. They are dedicated to quality, passion, care, the pride they take to produce the best turning tools that are available out there. And one of the key things is we always tell people we don't mass produce our tools. They are actually handmade. There's only one automated process here, and that's our CNC machine that basically rough shapes all the handles. But from there on, it's a hands-on process, hand staining, hand sanding, hand painting.
Drilling, assembly, everything is done by hand.
Everything, including Yorkshire Grit, is handmade here as well. All of our products are 100% made in America. We work with local suppliers on all of our raw materials. We have end-to-end control over our products from carbide, we say from tip to butt, end of the toolbar to the cutter, all being made here. But what that does for us is it ensures that everyone's responsibility is quality. There isn't one person who checks everything or a machine. Everywhere down the line, everyone is checking the step before, and they take a lot of pride in that. So that's the quick history. If you want to see how it's made, how we actually make our products, if you go out to Easywood Tools YouTube channel, we actually have about a 4.5-minute video, very quick, only the things we can show, that's called How It's Made, and it'll actually show you everything. Yes, Mr. Schimel, you had a question.
I was going to bring that up because you guys told me all that stuff, and I was kind of like, oh, come on. They mean it's all automated. There's not somebody actually doing the work. But like in that video, it really shows everything. And it's so cool. And it's all made in America, which is like so rare these days. And I was just thinking, you know, as a vendor, you can see all the logos behind us. There's very few companies that we've been selling for, and we've been selling for 8 years now. There's only like 3 companies I can think of that I've never had an issue with quality or like, you know, the ball was dropped on something, and Easywood is one of them. And I think you guys probably have heard me say that online. I'm like, dang it, I don't want to use this because I know I'm going to like it because everything they do is good quality and the craftsmanship is good, but I like my old method, you know? So yeah, watch that video because it's really cool to see the behind the scenes. But I just wanted to interrupt there and say that video was really great.
Thank you. Thank you. And working with local suppliers too, we don't have the supply chain issues that a lot of others had. And it really came to light, I think, as we all remember a couple of years ago, when you couldn't get some goods. We were fortunate enough that by working local, we had everything we needed to maintain and continue production here. So
yeah, our production never missed a beat.
With that being said, Chris will answer any questions while I'm off to the back cave, which is the other camera, and get some turning going for you. I'll be right back.
Chris, could I ask a question?
Absolutely.
So I've been turning like, I don't know, 25 years or something. And when I started in carbide, probably 15 or 16 years ago, it was a homemade tool using, you know, like an old planer insert or something. And it worked fine. But then when I switched to Easywood, it just was better. And I know you say they're specifically made for turning. Can you kind of tell us about that a little bit and why it's important?
Sure. Well, it all starts with the material selection. And people don't know very much about carbide because it's an industrial material that you don't typically see in the retail sector, I guess. But there are literally hundreds of grades of carbide that are used for a world of different applications. So it all starts with the correct material grade selection. So we chose a material grade that will yield the sharpest and longest lasting edge possible. So once we had the right grade of material, then it came down to the process that we used to finish grind the carbide. And on the face of the earth, there's only one material that's harder than carbide, and that's diamond. Diamond wheels are the only thing that will cut carbide or grind carbide. So the grinding technique that we utilized, as Christy said, with the little history of the company, the originator of Easywood Tools had two things in mind. He wanted an all-American made product, which is why he sourced out American suppliers like us at the time. But he also wanted to have the best carbide, the sharpest edge possible. So when we developed the first carbide cutters for turning, it actually took about 1.5 years to get the process right, because it was material grade, it was material testing, it was grinding methods and grinding method testing that we went through iteration after iteration of testing the sharpness of cutters until we found just the right combination of the grade of material and the grinding process that nobody else, I've never seen another carbide insert that uses the same process that we do. And I can tell that yields the sharpest edge. And those two factors are the reason why most people will tell you, you get what you pay for, and our carbide lasts longer and is sharper than anything else on the market.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Very cool. Well, if anyone has any questions, either for Chris or Christy while we're going along, throw them up in the chat, and then we can get started. Chris, if you have anything, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight Christy while she's turning, but if you have anything, just give me a signal and I'll turn your camera back on.
Okay.
But that's really cool to hear, and I didn't know any of that, so it's always important to hear about the origin story, because I think most of us just think, somebody slapped an insert on a piece of metal and it was done, no big deal. But there's a lot of R&D and testing that goes into that stuff for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, with the developments that we've had over the years in new product development, typically our testing process alone will take 1 year to 1.5 years just to get the process right, just to get the product to be the best of what we're developing. Because good enough isn't good enough. We have to make sure it's the best we can put out there. So we take the time to make sure that we test and retest if we have to.
Yeah.
And we sometimes
I think it shows in the product.
In doing so.
Yeah, definitely. Christy, it looks like you made it to the Bat Cave. We can't hear you yet, but I'm sure it's just a setting. So
probably got yourself muted.
Christy, are you muted? It wouldn't be technology if it all just went smoothly, right? I mean, come on. We're all experts at this by now. Yeah, we're not hearing anything for some reason. I gotta say that your setup there makes us all jealous. Look at all the tools all ready to go and every size. All right, Chris, we got a question while we figure out that. Well, it looks like we got a couple, and we'll take them as we can here.
Sure.
What is the difference between a normal... Oh, there we go, Christy. For a newbie, what is the difference between a normal and a negative rake tip? And how can you tell it if you're new?
Okay. Well, a standard carbide tip, our standard carbide, has a flat top surface. The negative rake cutter has a tapered surface at the top that tapers downward towards the cutting edge. So that is the way you can visually tell the difference between a standard and a negative rake. The difference in the operation is that the negative rake cutter is designed to be a less aggressive cutter. It will not remove material as fast as the standard cutter. There you can see Christy showing one of each. That's our CI2 square cutter on the right, and on the left is a negative rake version of the same cutter. So the negative rake is designed to be much less aggressive. You physically cannot make it remove material as fast as a standard aggressive cutter. It works very well on resins. It eliminates the chipping and the catches that you get with man-made materials or resin or materials like Alumilite or the store-bought cast resin materials or bottle stopper blanks or pen blanks or anything else that you can find out there. But it really was a game changer when we developed that negative rake cutter. And we have a negative rake version of all of our cutters now for our tools.
Chris, I'm gonna get going here so we can get through this turning. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you. We're gonna spotlight you, and we'll maybe throw in some questions to you if that's all right.
Absolutely.
All right. Take it away,
Basically,
Christy.
to speed up here a little, I'm gonna turn a cup, basically a cup. We'll see what it ends up to. I did do a little bit of a rough outline on this just for speeding up sake here. The first thing I'm going to do, and I'll switch cameras now so you can kind of get a close up. If anyone's saying they can't see or hear, just let me know and I can switch cameras around. So what I have here is I have our Easy Chuck. And the first thing, excuse me, I did, hold on one second. Sorry, sucked up a little dust there out of my mask. First thing I did is I actually have on our double-ended worm. Yes.
Do you need a minute? I can talk to Chris for just a sec if that's all right.
No, I can talk through first on the chalk. Hang on one second.
Okay.
Nothing a little liquid wouldn't clear there.
Right.
I had to get that dust down. So with our Easy Chuck here, standard with it is, I will open this here, is our double-ended worm screw. If you can see this. So it makes mounting a piece, smaller pieces, very easy. And you don't have to remove the chuck from the lathe. So all I'm doing here is mounting this in chuck, closing my jaws around it. And then as you get it, before you get it tight, pull it out and tighten it down. I had pre-drilled the hole so that I can mount it right on here. I'm just going to twist this on. Make sure that's tight. And make sure my chuck is locked. Good to go. Bring in my tailstock.
Christy, you're getting compliments on your blue nail polish.
It's fancy, isn't it? Camera really makes it pop.
Yeah.
Thank you. Turn this up. I'm probably going to have to turn it up again just here a little bit. Now, one thing with carbide, and let me know if you can't hear me with the lathe going.
You're crystal clear right now.
Perfect. Is with carbide, if you've never used it, it's pretty simple. You want to be flat on your tool rest, parallel to the ground, and center. And I'm pretty darn close there. Carbide does like it a little faster. I know, unless you're turning something really chunky or ugly, you can, if you have it secured on here, we always say turn as fast as you feel comfortable doing, but carbide likes speed. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to screw this up a little bit more. And right now I'm using our standard, I'm using a mid-size tool. and I'm using it with the standard rougher, which is the square one. We're just going to take some material out here.
When might you use the radius insert instead of the square one?
Oh, that's a great question. That is perfect for shaping. We actually offer, it's basically looks just like the negative rake, which I'm putting on here now, for shaping. It is not as aggressive because you're not going to shear cut. Like if you notice with the standard, what I can do here is I can plunge cut.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can shear. And I'm using basically the corner and the cutting face across here. The radius cutter, because it's radiused on the edge, you're not exposing the corners to it. A lot of people will use the standard radius for smaller projects. We see people doing pens with them or even shaping a bowl. On this one, I'm just doing pretty much a straight line bowl. So we're going to make it nice and easy. If you notice, I have the negative rake right now. Why I'm using that is it's less aggressive. Everyone associates the negative rake with resin and man-made materials. It's also great on hardwoods, but I'm using it just as a finishing pass, smoothing out my surface, which cuts down on sanding, which I know there's a lot of people that love to sand, find it therapeutic. But this way, you get any kind of turning marks out of there. What I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to shape out this bottom a little bit. And I'm using the, again, this is the standard cutter. I'm just going to round out, give bottom a little shape. I'm actually a little high, so I'm just going to adjust this down just a tad. The nice thing with carbide too, you check it, but you can feel it. You can tell you if you're a little high. It'll tell you if you're a little low. It'll tell you when you need to rotate it. That's a popular question. How many of you have that one? We'll just shoot it out there and cut that one off. I know when your cutter's dull.
Well, they want to know how you keep track of where you've cut on your tool.
Ah, all right. That's easy. On our standard cutters, it's going to be hard to see. But on our standard cutters, if you can see that at all, they're laser marked. I put a new cutter on. I always start with our Easywood Tools logo in the upper left-hand corner. So basically straight up. I rotate clockwise. So I know when I've come back around to it, it's time to replace the cutter. The negative rakes, a lot of people will put a little dot underneath or somewhere on the edge. You got to be careful though not to get into the cutter surface and keep track of where your starting point was. The easiest way is you can just tell. You can tell when it's to replace a cutter. The tool will tell you. You'll notice it. It's a feel. And, you know, and again, a number one question is how long? It's subjective, right, Chris?
Very much so.
Chris, we're getting a bunch of questions on can you sharpen carbide? Do you guys, as a manufacturer, recommend that or not?
That's his favorite question.
I figured it would be.
We typically say that it's best just to replace your carbide. People try. We know they do try and sharpen their carbide with like a diamond credit card file. Flip the carbide upside down, put a little oil on the diamond file, and do like a figure 8 with your hand on the pad with carbide upside down. But what really happens is when carbide dulls, it radiuses over, and you'll never remove enough material by hand to remove that full radius. You will make the radius smaller, and you will extend the life of the cutter maybe to finish the project that you're working on now or until you can replace the carbide. But what I like to say is you're not truly sharpening the carbide, you're actually making it less dull.
That's a good
So we
point.
recommend you replace it. You can extend the life and get a little bit more life out of it. You'll never get it factory sharp again by hand.
Chris, I feel very attacked, like you just described one of my videos.
You can do it. You're just not. The best line we've ever heard is it's getting you through till you can buy a new one. It'll get your project completed, kind of limping you through till you can replace it.
Right.
Well, and there's nothing better than a new insert, so why not, right?
You know, not to sound like a commercial, but we are known as the sharpest, longest lasting edge on the market.
Yeah. I think I've used every brand of carbide, and I would say that's 100% true.
Well, we call it the king of carbide for a reason. I mean, his entire career, he's been designing parts out of carbide. And the last 20, our carbide manufacturing facility, Chris, how many years? 23?
Now we're on 23 years with our carbide facility. So Doug and I both have spent almost all of our careers in the carbide industry. So the years combined would be very difficult to beat, because that experience, it's very hard to find that type of experience in the carbide industry any longer. Unfortunately, it's one of those U.S. manufacturing things that are decreasing all the time.
Now, what I'm doing right here is I'm just prepping my bottom of this vessel. And you'll notice I'm actually using our number one hollower for this. We call it a hollower, but I got to be honest with you, it has one of our smallest cutter heads on it. And this is the standard one. If you notice, this is our pen turning tool right here, micro. They are identical. The only difference is longer handle, longer toolbar. So it's made for intricate work. It's made for hollowing. However, it does great for getting into, if you can see, I'm just trying to get up next to my live center right here. And with the smaller cutter, I'm able to go with a little different surface area on it. So all I'm doing is just getting this ready. The next step here, and you can ask Chris questions. I'll tell you what I'm going to do next. And if you have a question, just ask it about any that I did while we're answering them. I'm gonna put a mortise on the bottom of this. And a mortise, if you don't do a lot of bowls or things like that, there's two ways to mount into your chuck. You can mount with a tenon. The two most popular ways, I should say, are using a tenon or a mortise. And I'm going to be making something similar to this. If you look on the bottom, that's a mortise. It's the way for my chuck to hold onto the piece. A tenon, if I have one around here, I don't see one. But this had a tenon. You can see here's a little hollow form, hasn't been finished yet. You can see the little nub, so it was parted off. It was being held on by a chunk that extends out, and then you part it off. So
very cool.
I'm kind of a mortise gal. I just like the decorative. Honestly, I like the fact that when somebody turns it over, there's something on the bottom. And it's one less thing I have to do. I don't have to then sand down that bottom edge. So the first thing I'm going to do, I didn't want to remove that yet. I almost forgot, Chris, my handy dandy cheat sheet explanation.
Getting ahead of yourself.
I know. So this right here is our chuck template set. Couldn't make it easier. I'm using where are they? Hang on. My 125. They're set for each size job. Tenon, mortise. All I have to do is hold this up here, mark it. It's telling me the minimum size opening I need for my jaws to expand into it. So I'm marking that. Put a little dot. Turn my lathe down. Just gonna hold my pencil there.
That sure makes it easy.
Gave myself a nice line. So I know I can't go any smaller than that. And then what I'm gonna do, I love the detailer, the mid-size, any of the detailers. Turn this up and just lightly score it.
Chad, you should know by now that easy is what we're all about.
Well, it's in the name, right? It's got to be there.
It's got to be there. And you know, the other beautiful thing is, it's called wood turning, right? Not sharpening. Keeps us turning. That's what I like, because this is the best hobby on the planet. Love it. And I like to turn anything. If you can turn it, I'll do it. So my next step here is I'm just going to take this out. And when you're doing mortises or tenons, there's Chris, you can explain like the minimum depth, and I'm using dovetail jaws, so I need to make this a dovetail, and I'll show you that.
Excellent.
But you don't want your mortise to bottom out on your jaws. So what you have to pay attention to is the depth of your mortise, or even if you're using a tenon, the height of your tenon. It's going to sit, and you want to make sure that you're making good contact on all sides of the jaw. What other questions do we have? Ask away.
There's a lot of good chat going on in there. People are talking about different things. I know you're about to flip it around and show us the chuck. Could you tell us a little bit about the chuck, or are we already planning to do that later?
I would love to tell you about the chuck. It's called the Easy Chuck for a reason.
Yeah.
Chris, you wanna go into the chuck, and then I'll show it everything that you talk about?
Well, we could do that, but I think it's easier to talk about it at the same time we're showing it, because words don't do it justice, and they may not believe it. They may not believe it until they see it. You know what I mean, Chad?
This is true.
Yeah, that's very true. And I will say, I'm trying to think of how many chucks are made in the USA, and I'm stuck on one. Are there any others?
Not that we know of.
I've never heard of one. Yeah.
For those people out there that aren't bowl turners, Christy's finishing up that mortise. It's very important to understand that whether you're using a mortise or a tenon, you have to put a dovetail angle on there that approximately matches the dovetail of the jaws that you're going to be using. Does not have to be exact or even close, but it can't be a zero angle. So right now, you saw her taking that square cutter over to the side of that mortise. Right now, she's got a square angle in there, and it will not mate very well with the jaws. So she's probably going to come back in there with either that square cutter on an angle or a detailer, a diamond-shaped tool, to put a little bit of a dovetail angle on there to match the jaw. So what happens now is when the jaw goes into that mortise and she spreads the jaws outward, it's actually going to draw the wood onto the chuck because of that angle. If you don't have that angle, the grip, the holding power is much, much less. So it's very important to put dovetail angles on your mortise or your tenon that is approximately the same angle as what is on the jaws. And you'll see the jaws in a minute when she takes that off. There's the diamond-shaped cutter she's going to use to put that reverse angle inside that mortise.
Actually, the first thing I'm going to do is, just because I hate to rework, just double check because I'm using the 125s. Just making sure, yep, I am meeting or exceeding the minimum, just barely, but I got it. Now I'm going to just come in at an angle this way. Basically, the diamond works perfect for this because you can ride the side angle. It's one of the, everyone thinks this is just for using the tip for scoring or making details. You can actually ride a side of it. So I'm going to come in here at a slight angle. And all I'm doing is making a, Chris, I forget what the degree is. I'm the turner. He's the math guy.
About a 15-degree angle, but again, it doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't have to match perfectly. It just cannot be 0.
Yeah, and this is probably a, I don't know if you can see from this angle. We'll see if you can. What I'm doing, this is just the same jaws that are on here. I'm just checking where I'm at on here. I'm not bottoming out. Can you see that at all? I don't think so, but I'm following the same contour. You can see I'm making contact in here.
Yeah.
I probably could go a little deeper, but I'm good enough.
Christy, when you do take that off, there was a request, if you have the time and the tooling, to see how the jaws are changed, which I figured you would probably do.
I'm going to do that. Now, normally what I would do here, and everyone has a different way of turning. Normally, I would actually, while I'm exposed, before I flip this around, I would actually sand it down. For today, for time's sakes, I don't know how many people want to watch me sand unless there's an overwhelming request for watching me sand out there. Is there?
We can ask, does everybody want to see sanding or do we want to keep turning? We'll give it just a minute here to see what everyone says. I'm putting my vote in for more turning than sanding.
I agree.
All right. I'm going to talk through. I just like to, some people it doesn't matter. I figure before I flip this around, what I normally would do for this piece, this is curly maple, by the way. I would sand this to 320. Since it's wood, it's curly maple. I would sand it to 320, dry sand it. Then I would just use Yorkshire Grit Original on it, work that into it, and basically get this. This has no finish. You can see mortise. This is a great piece of spalted and figured maple. Love this one. This is no finish on it. This was sanded to 320 with Yorkshire Grit Original used on it. Kind of give you a good idea of the finish there, an example of what Yorkshire Grit does. We'd be happy to come back on. What?
You got an overwhelming response to skip the sanding this time and just keep turning. But that was very helpful. Someone did ask, and I'm assuming Carl must have posted a change the jaw challenge because they want to know if you can beat Carl's time.
Ooh. I'm going to show the chalk and then I will try it. You guys can time me on it, but I'm going to do it exactly how he had it set up. Because I know exactly the trick on how he did it. So all I'm going to do here, I'm just going to take it off of my worm screw. And before I start turning the other side, I'll show you the chalk. Can everybody see this okay, or do you need a different angle or a little more?
No, I think you're good.
Okay. So here's let me get the worm screw out of here. Again, this worm screw, we actually do sell it separately if you're interested. It comes free with the chuck as soon as I get it open. And it fits more jaw chucks. We have a few products like that are designed because we all hate taking the chuck on and off. So I'm just going to put that aside. Comes with, the Easy Chuck comes with chuck key and jaw key. This jaw key also works. The one thing that I have going on here is there's two, Chris, are they set screws or grub screws?
Grub screws, they're called. They're on the neck. They're on the neck of the chuck body that locks the chuck onto the spindle shaft. Most people, and I'm one of them, like to turn with the lathe spinning in reverse. But if you have a chuck on the lathe and you turn it on in reverse, the chuck will tend to want to screw off, back off the spindle. Never want that to happen, obviously. So there are 2 grub screws on the throat of the chuck body that lock it on the spindle.
So the first thing you're seeing here, this is our patented zoom ring, one-handed operation. When I go to mount this, rather than having up here and this is moving around on me, trying to get my jaw key in here, this allows me to hang onto my chuck, open and close my jaws, mount my piece, and get it just a tight before I need to tighten it down with my jaw key. Same thing with taking it off. I can open and close the jaws. Now, here is the seller. This is why it's the easy chuck. Said jaw key. There are no screws with this chuck. It's a 4-inch body, Chris, all hardened steel, machined, tight tolerances. If I'm missing anything, Chris will loop back to that. No screws. This is our quick, our snap block technology that allows for quick jaw change. Basically, I'm putting this in here. Jaw out. Jaw out. Jaw out.
Come on, there's no way it's that easy.
It's that easy. And that's not all. Here, if I wanted to put different jaws in,
Shake them up.
no numbered
Wait.
slots.
The jaws are
You don't
not
have to have numbered.
Jaws
They
are
are
not
not-
numbered. They can go in any order or any location. Does not matter.
And we have, what is it, 9 different jaw options? You can basically,
9 different jaw options from the 1 3/8 that Christy will put back on there to finish her turning project, all the way up to 20-inch cold jaws, and they all snap in place the same way as what she's showing you.
you can see we have step jaws, pen jaws. I'm sorry, these are grip jaws. Step jaws. You saw the setup. All of them are in bins back here. Although I'm a little spoiled with my case. If you can see it over here, all my jaws are in there. All right, now, this is how Carl did this. Someone will have to time me. Let's see how I can do it. If I remember correctly, he lined up the next set of jaws. I got to make it fair and even, right?
Well, we're gonna say you won no matter what.
There you
All
go.
right. Let me know when, wait, let me know when you're ready. Time me.
All right, ready, go.
You hear him hitting the floor?
Yep.
Hardened steel won't hurt it. Done.
That's pretty
Awesome.
Anybody do that with their chuck at home?
Yeah, that was pretty good. I got to be honest.
Although I have to be honest, I might have lost one on the floor over here. We'll find
Yeah.
that one eventually. Oh, there it is under the lathe. But
That's
it's
one of
much
those
easier to find it.
Cost of entertainment, right?
That's right. So, just to keep these, not that it matters. Anyone else particular about their own stuff?
Whoops.
Those
Yes,
weren't my jaws. This is my chalk. These are my jaws. So I got to put mine back on. How many husband and wife people are out there? Do you guys keep separate tools?
That sounds like a start of a conversation that could go either way.
Yeah.
We don't keep our own turning tools. You know what the one thing is that Chris and I have separate of? It might surprise. Any guesses out there?
What's that?
Drill bits.
Oh, yeah. I can see
The
that.
dreaded drill bits.
Yep.
We both get tired of not finding them and then blaming each other. You lost the bit. No, you lost the bit.
Hey,
They're the one thing
Christy,
you always lose.
could I ask you a question back? I know you described finishing fairly quickly, but there were two questions. One, would you use sanding sealer before you do your Yorkshire?
Yes,
Yes?
sorry, I missed that step.
Yes.
I
Hey,
Okay.
in fact, I just use a cellulose sanding sealer. Put that on,
That-
dries really quick, only on wood.
Yes.
Obviously on resin, you don't need it.
That also
And
is
quite
available at
honestly,
turnerswarehouse.com.
available
Okay.
today at turnerswarehouse.com.
The
On
other
back
question
of
was, oh, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
On the back of every tin of Yorkshire Grit, there's a QR code that'll take you right to the proper use instructions. And we do use a sanding sealer so that if you're putting a finish on top of your sanded project, it will not affect the performance of any finish. The sanding sealer
Yeah.
does not allow the Yorkshire Grit to penetrate into the wood deeper than you're going to
Oh.
sand off.
Okay. And then the other question was, you mentioned you would use Yorkshire Grit Original. When would you use the microfine?
On man-made materials. Any of your man-made, your resins, that's the microfine. Wait, camera, which way do I have to go? There. White one is microfine, black one is original.
The original
You
Yorkshire
can,
Grit. The original will
Sorry.
take you to about 1,000 grit, and the microfine, the white tin, will take you to about 2,000 grit finish.
Excellent.
and
Are you
the
still making the black case that holds all of the jaws?
Who asked that question?
Are we talking someone who has one?
That's
There's
Sarah.
very few. Let's see.
Sarah asked that.
She's talking about this. It's actually something I don't think we ever sold it, Chris.
We have not. We got a few in a while back for mainly our own purposes, but people saw it and it's really cool. And we're just starting to get some requests for it. So it's something that we're looking at.
Yep, we're looking into it
Okay, very good.
on whether or not to do one of those. The what I did here, that mortise I turned, remember I said with a tenon, your jaws close around it. With a mortise, you expand into it. So I put that on and then opened my jaws, not too hard. You don't want to, if you open too hard, you can crack it. But I opened till it was good and grabbing. I'm still going to support this with the tailstock for right now, because we're going to see how true we are. We're pretty good. And I'm just going to remove a little bit of the center material while I'm still supported. And I'm going to use the #1 hollower with that little bit without jabbing it in there. I'm just going to start taking some of this material out.
I think you guys should rename that just the #1, because I have so many people tell me that they use the #1 hollower for so many things. It's their #1 tool.
I might be one of them.
Yeah.
Me too.
I can just, I'll admit, for all of my my small project work, bottle stoppers, and I love it. I like a longer tool, and I know you can't see it on camera. There's two ways to hold this. A lot of people will hold here. I'm a tucker, depending on the lathe height. I like to support the tool. Whoops, I can't talk and hold a tool. I have learned that. Anyone who's on here who saw my demo learns I talk with my hands. Saw my demo last week, and I should say. So all I'm doing is just taking out some of the material here.
If you wouldn't mind, Chris, somebody asked if you would repeat what you said about sanding sealer and Yorkshire Grit.
Sure, and I think while Christy's doing some hollowing there, we should get a little caught up on some questions. I'm also monitoring the list, and I see quite a few that probably should be addressed. So as far as the sanding sealer goes, Yorkshire Grit is an oil-based product. And if the oil penetrates too far into your wood, it can have an adverse effect on any finish that you might put over your sanded project. So The process to use Yorkshire Grit is you'll sand to 220 or so, maybe up to 300, or so, and then apply your sanding sealer. And the sanding sealer does not allow the Yorkshire Grit to penetrate very deep into the wood, at least not as deep as the material you're going to remove from sanding. So then once you clean off the Yorkshire Grit, when your sanding process is finished, it will not have any effect at all on any type of finish that you want to put on your project after sanding.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you see any other questions, feel free to tackle them.
Actually, there's one comment I saw that I want to address real quick, just as a quick customer service plug. I need to find it again because it did scroll back a bit. Old man River, I think it was. Where are you? Old Man River Woodturner had a question. He has a damaged screw head on his tool. He's not able to replace the cutter on it. Old Man River, if you contact us at customer service at Easywood Tools or call us at the office, we will take care of you. We'll probably have you send that tool back into us. We'll clean it up. We'll remove the cutter. We'll retap the thread if it needs to be retapped, and we'll send that tool back to you. But we'll take care of you. We'll get that tool back in shape right away for you. Sorry, that one was sitting out there for a while, and I know Old Man River
awesome.
probably wanted an answer to that.
Yeah.
I'm also going to take a moment to demonstrate something here because it's one we get. You can't see from the camera, but I can tell by looking at this cutter head, it is full of sawdust. I'm just going to hit it with a little compressed air because if that pocket isn't clean, the hex key, when I grab the right hex key, isn't going to sit properly. And if it doesn't sit properly, it will strip out on you. So when I get it in here, sorry, I have dust on my face shield. Rotate it. If I wanted to take this off, I would take it completely off. If I just want to rotate, sorry, I'm trying to see where the camera is here. There it is. I would just rotate it when I tighten it down. I know we have a lot of strong people out there. I'm twisting. I don't need to crank this thing in here just till it's taut right there. That was it. Don't need to over tighten it. It's now seated in here perfectly well. The other thing is, and it doesn't matter, we want you to use our tools, obviously. Always replace the screw anytime you replace the cutter. And any of you that are familiar with our cutters know every one of the new Easywood Tools cutters comes with a brand new screw. Little bit of grease on there, perfect. You shouldn't have any issues with it. But to Chris's point, if you do, that is one thing. Our customer service is second to none. You have a problem with any of our tools, can't figure it out yourself, you send it to us, we fix it, clean it up for you, and send it back to you.
That's great to know. Absolutely.
And most of the time, we only charge you for shipping it back.
Excellent.
We stand behind our tools 100%. So you can keep going with questions. All I'm going to do is just start hollowing this vessel out. Now I'm going to put beads down the side, so I don't want to go real thin on my sidewalls.
Yeah, we want to see those beads.
Now I like to turn, but you could also, a lot of people like to use a Forstner bit to take out some of the bulk material on something like this first. You can certainly do that and then clean it up with the hollower. You still have to turn though. The Forstner bit isn't going to get everything.
So how do you know which tool you need to use as far as going in that deep?
That's what this was made for. If you look at it, here's the reach I can get out of this. So I can get way past where I'm at on this, and the reach is over the toolbar. Now, as I'm moving forward, I'm actually going to, I started back a bit. You want to make sure your tool rest is as clear your project as possible to get your clearance. So this one is made for this. This is absolutely the purpose of this tool. Now, if you're doing a big vessel, I won't even be able to get this one in the entire camera shot, but we'll slowly bring it up. And also available at Turner's Warehouse is the Pro Hollower series. Those are the big boys. That would be a little overkill on this one.
A little bit. All right.
Dave Narducci, the 1 3/8 jaws come standard with the Easy Chuck. Those are the jaws that Christy has on the chuck right now.
You can do a lot with those standard jaws, that's for sure.
Oh, they go up to, I'm trying to think of the size. To be honest with you, they're the most used. I can do quite a few projects on those standard ones.
Yeah.
And we also have cold jaws for them as well. 12-inch, 16-inch, and the 16-inch come with extenders on the 16-inch that can take it up to 20-inch. And the cold jaws have two different holder options. I'm trying to find a pair here, right here. That's a cold jaw. Comes with the standard nubs on it, but we also have extenders for it. Sorry, my camera angle's backwards, so I feel like a weather person. It's sunny in Texas, and it is cold in Florida. I clearly wouldn't make it as a weather person. I can't get my hands going the right direction.
You seem to be doing just fine.
Although the weather would be more interesting if they were turning.
Yeah, it would. All right.
Now with the shape I'm doing with this one, I'm just doing a pretty straight line. But we also have our gooseneck hollowers. And our gooseneck hollowers allow you to do hollow forms. Right, Chad? You carry those too, if I'm correct.
Yep, absolutely.
The gooseneck allow you to do hollow forms or even an open bowl and get into the corner. So I would use this to wrap around and pull out so that I could get inside and under an edge. This one, I don't need it because I'm pretty much just doing a straight. And I know this camera angle you can't see, but I'm pretty far down in here. Now, the one thing you always want to be aware when you're doing something like this, and especially with a mortise versus a tenon, is remember, I came into the bottom of my bowl here. So I have a pretty good idea of where that opening is. So I don't have all the way to the back side here, all the way to the edge. I'm in a little on where that hole is. Otherwise, I'm going to create a skylight in my bowl.
So you mentioned you were leaving it a certain thickness for the beading tool.
Yes.
Is there a certain thickness for each size of the beading tool that you need minimum?
It's probably what, Chris, about 1/8?
The minimum depth, if you're going to shoot for something, you want to have at least half of the diameter of the cutter. Because our bead is designed to be a complete bead, if it's an 1/8 inch diameter, that means it's going a 16th inch deep before it fully forms. That make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if it's a 1/4 inch bead, you want an 1/8 inch of material minimum. Just
now, what I did here, in case you were wondering, I'm just about done. So I switched over to my negative rake cutter. And for time's sake, I didn't change them. I just had two different ones mounted for you here. And I did that just so, because I could feel, little high spots. This is great, again, for just smoothing out without removing a lot of material.
Mm-hmm. Question, why would you not bead the outside before hollowing?
Christy,
Sorry,
did you hear that?
Yes, I did. I was eating dust again.
Oh, no, you're
I had to get rid of the dust.
fine.
Normally I would, but I switched over to show you the jaws, to show you the chalk.
We appreciate it.
However, I have a solution for that.
And what wood are you turning on that again?
Right now I'm using the #1 hollower with a negative rake just to clean up my edges.
And what is the wood species?
Oh, I'm sorry. It is curly maple.
Curly maple, okay. Doug, do you if you see Susan's question there, maybe you could address that one.
Chris?
Me or Doug?
Yeah.
Doug, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Doug. I was reading Doug's name on the screen, but Chris, sorry. I insulted one of you, but I don't know who. Just kidding.
Okay, Susan is asking about tipping carbide on a slight angle to scrape.
Chris, that's right up your alley.
I'm going to give you my thoughts and suggestions on that. I know people do use that process, and it may give a little bit better finish than the standard carbide used properly, flat on the tool rest. But we don't recommend you do that. It's basically using the tool in a fashion that it was not designed to be used, and it's not a safe way of turning with carbide. So the way I explain that is basically your carbide tip flat on your tool rest is like a pocket knife. It's very thin, it's very sharp, and as long as you have it in a horizontal position, as your workpiece comes across it, it's not going to cut very deep, which you don't want it to. But the minute you start introducing an angle in that, it's going to start cutting in just like a pocket knife would on the palm of your hand if you scraped it across. When that knife edge cuts in deeper into your hand or into the wood, that's called a catch. And if anybody wants to raise their hand, those people that love getting catches all the time, I don't think many of us will. So it's not a safe way to turn. It is more prone to catches than any other way of turning. The solution that we provide to that is that if you want to get a little bit better surface finish at the end of your turn, when you have your project shaped and you're just doing that final couple of passes, just like Christy is showing in this demonstration, she switched to the negative rake cutter. It's a much less aggressive cut. It's going to give you smoother finish. It's going to reduce the amount of sanding required to get you up to your finish process or up to the Yorkshire Grit starting point. So we have a safer, better alternative to tipping the tool on an angle.
In fact, that is quite honestly where our inspiration for Chris developing that negative rake came from. He witnessed somebody doing it and asked why, specifically on man-made materials, on your resins. And he asked why. And they were trying, because of man-made materials, people were saying, well, if I tip it, it's a little better, but it's not perfect, and I'm still getting catches. So that actually was where Chris went to the drawing board to say, all right, we got to solve for that. And come up with the negative rake cutter. And that was in R&D for about a year Took a long, I don't know. I bet you somewhere in our shop there's probably a whole bucket of all of the designs of it and all of the iterations that went along with it to find that perfect angle.
Yeah, as I said,
tipping it, you can't find it, or if you can find it, you're not going to hold it. As soon as you get something in there, that tool's going to tip or move on you. Sorry, go
like
ahead,
you said
Chris.
earlier, Chad, when we develop new technology or new products, we go through a great deal of testing, and it takes a good deal of time because we go through iteration after iteration, changing the variables to make sure that we have got the perfect combination. And as Christy said, there are many different variations of the negative rake cutters that we tested. But again, as you can see right there, Christy has that tool flat on the tool rest, horizontal or parallel to the ground, and right on center with the workpiece. That is the safest way to use any carbide tools, whether it's Easywood Tools or anybody else's. And whether you design your tools to be tipped at weird angles or anything else, it's not as safe as using it flat on the tool rest. So we optimize the angle that gives the best results of a negative rake cutter. We design that into the cutter so that you can still employ those 3 simple rules to always be turning in the safest manner.
Okay. So I'm going to jump in here. The next thing I'm going to do here, and for those of you that asked, wouldn't I put my beads in first? I said, yep, I'll account for that. All I did was just to support this piece so that I'm not pressing in unsupported. I just mounted a cone to my live center, and that will support my piece. Now I'm going to, just like this one, I think everyone in agreement, make multiple beads up the side like I did on this one.
Yes, please.
So I'm going to use, I think this one I did a 3/16 is on this one. I'm going to go with the 1/4. This piece is a little bit taller, so I think they're very close, but I'm going to go with the 1/4 on the bead. So our beading cutters, also available at Turner's Warehouse, they are our negative rake technology. So this has a negative rake grind on it. They are designed to work on all materials because of it. So you can use it on your resins, on your woods. Super easy to use. Best part of it is, it isn't a tool, it's a cutter. You can replace it. When it gets dull, you replace it. You don't have to worry about a tool where when it comes out of the package, it's nice and sharp, but then when you try and sharpen a beading tool, a stainless or a high-speed steel, getting that exact grind down can be very challenging. The other thing, the beading cutters were designed to fit on our square tools. I have it on a mini right now. If you look at this one, same tool, there we go. Same identical tool. This has our square rougher on it. This one I have our beading cutter mounted on it. It fits on anything that takes our CI2 square cutter. So with that being said, it'll fit. Let's see. There are 3 tools. So Chris purposely did that. Why he picked that one is because it was the most options. It'll fit I got to figure out push. Easy Start rougher, the mini rougher, and the mid-size rougher. So anything that takes a CI2. Now, the great thing about that, this tool now, those 3 tools, can accept 7 different cutters to give you 7 different tool options. Rather than buying a new tool, you can swap out your cutters and get 7 purposes. That's the standard cutter it comes with, the negative rake cutter, that radius cutter, Chad, that you were talking about, where it's a standard grind on it, but it's radius, and all 4 beading cutters. So 7 purposes out of 1 toolbar.
That's pretty
What
great.
could be better?
Could you give us a close-up of? Could you give us a close-up of that insert?
Yeah, let's see.
There we go.
Let me know if it's out of focus here. Still a little out of focus. Actually, hang on. I got a better idea. I think if I switch just to this camera for a moment. Is that better?
There we go. Oh, that's better. Yeah, there we go. Yes, perfect.
So this one is the 1/4, and just to give you an idea, that's the 1/8. So that's a little tiny profile. This is the 3/16 right there. I showed you the 1/4, and the last one we have here. All right, I'll put them back when I'm done. How's that? Even though it'll bother me, I like put my tools away. The last one is the 3/8. Right.
Very good.
So a lot
Thank
of
you.
great options to use on that tool. All right. For this one, I'm going to use like I said, the 1/4. When you're using our beading cutters, this is definitely speed, as fast as you can safely turn. Again, you just want to make sure you're on center, where I'm a little low, it looks like. Make sure you're on center, still low. It's hard to tell with the cone in there. Flat on the tool rest, parallel to the ground with the beading cutter. Don't roll it, because you will get a catch. You don't want that. You want to maintain flat. You can rotate as long as you keep that tool bar flat on your tool rest. It's negative rake. Let the cutter do the work. So you don't want to go right in, slowly advance it in, form that bead. Let the cutter do its job. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to run beads right up the edges here.
I'm sure you guys, it would be a secret, but David asked if you're going to do a captive ring cutter. I'm all for that. I know you can't tell us if it was, but
yeah, there's a few things in development. It's a funny thing with us because we're first, we get copied. We kind of hold things very close to our chest on what's in R&D right now.
I don't blame you.
So all I'm going to do is start this, let the cutter do its job. Just to give you an idea, and I could go a little faster, I'm at about 2,300 RPM. So I've got that formed. I'm going to start just rotating left to right. I'm going to make repeating beads on this. I got one. I'm going to turn it up just a skosh. And I can start in the groove, the last one, which is very nice. You can get nice, consistent beads this way. I know it's hard to see without having the overhead camera. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing.
It's really important to know and to understand that when you're using these beading cutters, speed is very important. The faster you run your RPM, the better surface finish you're going to get. The reason for that is these do have the negative rake grind on the cutter, so it's not going to remove material very fast. You have to slowly feed that cutter into the workpiece, as you see Christy doing there. As that piece wraps around, it's important that you're removing enough material to clear out before the next wrap comes around and starts to remove even more material. So you could be forcing that cutter to take too much material too fast, even though you think you're feeding it in at a nice slow rate. So if you're trying to use the beading cutters and you're not real satisfied with the surface finish you're getting, first thing you want to do is crank up your RPMs. You want to run that as fast as is safe to do so with whatever project you have on your lathe.
And I'm just rotating to get a little different definition. I don't need to rotate. I just want to kind of get a little deeper cove in there. Almost like it's halfway to a captive ring. These are another one that spent a lot of time in R&D getting it just right. And some might ask, that's a long time. We are not going to put a product out until it has been put through the paces and it's perfect. We get that everybody, all the turners out there, you're making art. And to enable you to make art, you need to trust that your tools are doing what they need to do. So that is one of our philosophies here. And it's kind of talk a lot about it with our team too. Not just what they're making, but who's using them and why are you using them.
So do a lot of people at the factory turn also?
I was just going to ask that. And in case you're wondering, we have a few that are very good turners. But what we do with our new employees, we get them on the lathe. We show them. We let them turn so that they understand what it's. We've had, in fact, we pretty soon we'll be doing another one where we call it Turning Day, where everybody gets about an hour on the lathe to make something during their workday.
That's cool.
If they want to, we don't make them, but if they want to do it, we certainly let them do it, and do it right where I am. This is our turning up. A lot of R&D work done in here, turning, testing. Actually, this lathe has been all over the place too. This is the one we'll travel with to trade shows. Now I'm just about done. I know you can't see this, but let's see if I don't ruin this one. I'm just up on the top of my bowl. I'm just going to try and round it out a little bit.
Christy, I thought it was so cute that you said you can change the cutter on all your tools. You all know we're all buying extra tools to have the bead cutters ready to go. We're not changing any inserts.
You know, if that's what you all want to do, we certainly don't have a problem with that. Just to give you an idea, I mean, we know you're pretty intuitive. You can see there's how many oranges over here and how many oranges and reds and yellows. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're doing the same thing here, but it's for a purpose, and that is so that you can see what we're doing. Gives you an idea here. This angle will show you kind of the depth. I'm gonna switch back over to the close-up, and I'll take this off too so you can see it.
I think you guys might get an influx of job applications after what you just said.
Want to work here? That's hard. I know the lighting isn't right for you to see this. So how about if I take it off?
Yeah, I think we'll be able to see it if you pull it off.
And again, I haven't sanded it, finished it. This is just pure turning. Let me close opposite. All right, I'm gonna switch cameras. Let's get a look at it.
Somebody mentioned an ornament turning day, and just so everybody knows, Easywood Tools has been a huge supporter of our ornament fundraiser for the last many years. So you can use all these cool tools making your ornament this year.
So again, no sanding. Here's the hollowed out. Here, can everyone see that?
Yeah, it looks good.
Very nice.
The 1/4 inch beads, the mortise on the bottom. Now, obviously, normally I would sand it, finish it, and do all of those things. Tomorrow, I'll put it back on the lathe and do that because I'm a completist. Any
Very
questions on that?
Anyone have any questions on that? That was a lot of great stuff to see and how you did the beading and everything.
I see we have a little bit of time left. I can throw a stopper on here next.
Yeah, let's do it.
Not as fun. What did everyone think of the bowl or the cup?
I think you got good reviews here, and everybody that is chiming in on the beading cutters just loves them. So that's great to hear.
They certainly make it easy. It's in our name. We have to do that in here. Here, look, now I have something to put my chuck key in.
Oh, there you go. Mike asked if you can use the beading tool. Let me see, make sure I say this right. Beading tool on the inside angles of a bowl to make a bead inside.
You can, if you can get at it. It more on a platter, I'd say, because like this, I couldn't be able to get in. I could off the bottom. As long as you have the clearance, you can do it in a surface that allows you to do it safely.
Just looking to see if I have something behind me on the shelves here that would show that, but I do not. But yeah, on the face of a open face platter, you can bead that inside face. As long as you can get perpendicular to the toolbar coming in with your project, you can beat it. Robert Edwards asked about a factory outlet. We do not have a storefront as Easywood Tools. We do sell online on our own website, but we sell through all of our retailers across the country and all over the world. Here in Lexington, we do have a retailer local, but we do not have a storefront ourselves. We are just a manufacturing facility in Lexington, Kentucky.
And I'll answer the next question. Do we give factory tours? No, we don't. We get that one a lot, and we would love to, but the proprietary steps that are involved here, we guard those pretty well. And for the safety of our team members by opening up, if I flip this camera around, it's a lot of sawdust. It's a lot going on. And they're busy doing their jobs, and the distraction, we don't want anyone to get hurt, as well as opening our building.
Well, and you guys do a lot of shows and events, so I mean, people have a lot of opportunity to meet you guys and see the tools and all kinds of stuff. So it's not without access, that's for sure.
Right.
No, it isn't. And watch that video.
Yeah.
The how it's made video would give you about a best view versus even coming here. You'd see about the same steps. All right, so I'm gonna quickly, let me switch cameras again for you. All I did was mount a mandrel on here.
Chad, if you're interested in your reach, we have Glenn Forshaw. I'll probably pronounce that wrong, but Forshaw, who wants to know if he can get our tools and beading cutters in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely. We ship to the UK all the time. So Glenn, just send us a message and we'll talk to you about that. We can take care of you.
Like hearing that. All right, now I'm turning a resin bottle stopper. So since it's resin, I am using our negative rake. We should see a lot of cool ribbons here. See them flying up?
Very ribboned. Can you talk about the Live Center cone set a little bit?
Yep. Do you carry that? You should.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Live Center cone set, it's 2 pieces. If you saw I demoed exactly what this did. It was a way for me to hold an opening without damaging my bowl. So it gave me stabilization right off of my live center. It'll fit on any live center that has the screwed threads on it. This thing basically does the same thing, any kind of opening. What I use this for, probably more than anything else, is pressing in tubes, 10 tubes, anything where I'm doing it on the lathe, bottle stopper inserts. Once you glue them, we all know, how many of you have done a pen and the glue dried before you got the tube all the way in? I know we don't see a show of hands, but we've all done it.
Never. Couldn't happen.
So that allows, you can put that on the end, put your tube in there, and use your tailstock by turning it, mounting it here, and then pressing in with your tailstock. And it won't damage your threads because it's riding on the outside, basically. It's before you even get to any threads on a bottle stopper. It is probably kind of the #1 thing I like doing, especially when you're doing a lot of them or a production of them.
David asked if Easywood would be at SWAT. David, we were actually talking about this a little earlier today, and Easywood will be represented there by a few retailers. And it sounds like there will definitely be at least 1 or 2 or 3 people showing up from Easywood. So
that is correct.
Hopefully they'll hang out at our booth a little bit too.
We will hang out with everybody. Mr. Doug Dixon is for sure going to be there. And you might see a surprise visit from Chris and I too.
There you go.
But we will not have a direct booth there.
Christy, your blank was round. If it was square, would you have started with your rougher tool instead of your finisher tool?
I absolutely would have. For time's sake, I started with a round one.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing a simple little shape here. Nothing fancy.
Are you guys
Actually, I'm sorry?
Are you guys going to Portland for AAW?
We will, Easywood Tools products will be there. Carl Jacobson and Robin Jacobson out of the Niles booth will be representing Easywood Tools and selling our products, but we will not be there. And we meaning Doug or I.
Okay.
Actually, one of the first AAWs we won't be at in a long time, and ever, I think, right, Chris?
Yes, ever.
But we will definitely have our full booth back at AAW 2025. That'll be in, if you haven't heard, Minneapolis.
Oh, I hadn't heard.
I've heard enough people say it that I know it's public.
You heard it here first.
Heard it here first. We're just going to do something. I don't know what we're doing here. You know, I asked this recently, and you can answer in the chat. How many of you plan out exactly what you're going to do before the tool touches the piece, and how many let the piece tell you as you start turning? Curious what the percentages are.
Do the colors of the tool handles represent the tool type or not necessarily?
Great question. Yes, it does. All of the square roughers, this one, orange is roughing, red, finishing,
And
yellow,
roughing is dirt.
detailing, and the natural are either specialty tools or all of our hollowing tools are natural on here. Specialty meaning the micro detailer, the parting tool. I know we didn't part today, but we'll part soon, hopefully, friends. I know, bad joke. And the only exception would be our pro tools are actually, all of our tools are American maple, with the exception of our, if I can get this one in here, our Pro regular turning tools are hickory and they're hand stained. And the reason for the color coding is this lathe right here, I have a tool rest right under it. So if my tools are here, I know by color what tool I'm grabbing. I don't have to pick it up, look at it. I know exactly what I'm reaching for. Makes it easy to find your tool. I know we overdo easy, but that is what we're about. I shouldn't say it's what we're about. It's one of the things that makes us who we are.
Most of the comments are people do not plan out their shape.
Love it. I'm not either. It tells me.
Mhm.
Now, Chris, and it depends. On a bottle stopper, no. Even Chris wouldn't either. Just let it go. And I get there's certain things that you have to measure it and know, like lidded boxes and things like that. When Chris turns, he does measure more than I do. I'm more freeform, which means I do make more mistakes sometimes. Since he's an engineer, he measures.
I was going to say, he seems like a planner.
He's an engineer.
Christy, we got a little bit of out of focus. Could you just put your hands up on the tailstock there to try to get it in there?
Yeah, how do we get out of focus here?
I don't know. Something happened.
Hang on. Could have been all the moving around.
Yeah, it might have been.
It just doesn't want to autofocus now.
Here we go. Let's try that.
Quit moving.
Yeah.
Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back at it. All right, hang on.
There you
we
are.
go.
Whoa.
Much better.
When all
I
else
didn't know
fails, turn it off and on again.
You're the IT person as well.
I wear many hats. All right, now I'm going to actually, since it's resin, how about we put a big old bead on here?
Absolutely. Now, if you were going to use microfine on this, what would you sand it up to?
Okay, if I'm gonna, for this piece, I would actually use the, I'd wet sand it to 400-600, right in there, depending on, where I'm with it. No more than 6.
Okay.
So, 5 grits. And then I would apply the microfine, use that. It will take it to about 2,000. Right, Chris?
Yep, 2,000.
So I'm just going to put a nice little bead right in here.
Christy, Sarah thanked us for coming to Pen Turners over last weekend.
Thank you, Sarah.
You, Sarah, we had a great time at that event. We always love doing that event. We've been at the Midwest Pen Turners gathering every year so far, and it's one of our favorite shows. It's in the Chicagoland area, so it's not far for Christy and I to travel to, and we always have a great time at that one.
That wasn't a tool. That was me tripping over the leg of the lathe.
I even know a couple Arizona people that went back for that show. That sounds like a good one.
There was, in fact,
we know you did.
is Myra on here?
She normally is, but I haven't seen her on here.
It's Small World Story. We were in Arizona last year, and actually, we were somewhere else. We were at another store, and we saw Myra, like in passing. Then we stopped by and saw Chad and Amy at Turners. And who walks in is Myra. And we were like, you look familiar. And we're like, didn't we just see you somewhere else? And then, lo and behold, at the ornament contest, Myra wins a set. She happened to be a winner of one of the categories and won a set of our tools.
You're right. I forgot she won a set. That's so cool.
And she went out to Midwest Pen Turners last weekend, and of course we saw her again because we were there. So we are destined to keep running into her.
Yeah,
She's
sounds like
wonderful.
she's a lot
Met
of
her
fun.
a year ago. Yep, we met her 1 year ago. So now all I'm gonna do with this guy, we're just gonna take this end off of here really quick, and it'll be done. Again, I won't sand it. I won't torture you with me sanding unless you guys wanted to. Or at least if you
I always,
wanted to see Yorkshire Grit.
I always laugh about the sanding because that's when I figure I'll lose all my viewers because sanding is not very
Yeah.
entertaining. But
No,
as long as
it's
there's
not.
good conversation, you're okay.
Well, we can let the viewers decide. Actually, this
Yeah,
is the
if you
perfect
guys want to
time.
see sanding and Yorkshire Grit, let us know. Um, either way.
Does anyone else, when they're turning something, try and aim their ribbons?
Oh, of course.
That's just the fun of it,
Especially,
isn't it?
especially if somebody's standing nearby, you got to throw it on them.
Actually, last weekend we were turning in our booth, and there was a wood supplier next to us, and they're always next to us. And they made the comment, "Are you going to dirty our booth again?" And we're giving us a hard time. So, what do you think? Everything was aimed right at us. All in good fun, mind you. They're great
Yeah.
people. They were just giving us a hard time. So right here, I'm using the all negative rake, but I switched to the rougher, the CI2R2 negative rake, because I want to make a little bit of a flat top here. And there's no better tool to make a flat surface than a flat cutter. What other questions do we have? You guys can ask us anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of comments, not as many questions. We have another winner of an Easywood set of tools from 2 years ago. I'm assuming from either a show or the ornament contest for David.
Nice.
Nice, very nice.
I'm telling you,
Yeah,
if anyone out here who hasn't participated in that, first off, the entire team at Turner's does such a great job at paying it forward and giving it back to the community by sponsoring that. And St. Jude's is just, helping kids, doesn't get better than that. But everyone who turns something, you're all heroes.
yeah, that's
Everyone
really
who's bidding and auctioning on or bidding on all the auctioned ornaments. I have a couple that I just love. I'm so excited when I get to win the auction. And it's all for a great cause. So thank you for doing that because it is just phenomenal.
You do have a couple people who would love to see Yorkshire if you have time.
I do. I can actually wet sand on this can go pretty darn quick. So,
Yeah.
especially when I was prepared, in case you wanted me to, with a bowl of water.
Perfect.
And
Well, and the beauty is you don't have a lot of sanding to do when you end
yeah,
with that negative rake. So the sanding time is really minimal, correct?
it's very minimal, especially on this material. And I know you can't see. Let's see if you can. If I switch over, I'll kind of gives you an idea of, I don't know if we're too far away or not. The shape I did here. Let's see. Oh, or it won't, or it doesn't like me.
Chris, somebody
All
is
right,
asking if sanding sealer, if it matters if it's a spray on or a wipe on.
right here.
No, it shouldn't matter. They all pretty much work the same. They're not penetrating too deep into the wood, so it doesn't really matter if you wipe it on or spray it on. Just want to make sure you follow the manufacturer's operating instructions for whatever sanding sealer you use.
Yep.
Shortcut it. What else? What other questions we got up there while she's wet sanding that?
Yep, and this is a small surface, so it won't take me.
Yeah.
How about Robert Edwards wants to know we sell our tools, I guess he's asking in a set We do not. We sell them individually, and most retailers follow that. I believe there are maybe one or two strictly on Amazon that put together sets of tools by size and by color combination that you can purchase if you're looking to do a full set. But here right now we're only selling the individual tools.
And I'm using the Abernathy sheets, also available at Turner's Warehouse.
So many wonderful plugs.
In fact, I believe this is where I bought the setup when I was ordering more ring making kits.
Oh yeah. Reed asked, do you rock the tool when you're doing the beading tool?
You don't have to. You don't want to rock it. All I did, and I don't know if you don't want to go up or down. I rotated left to right just to undercut it a little bit. You don't need to, though. You can just form a nice bead straight in.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit more definition if you rock to the left and right just a little bit. You don't want to go too far.
But the secret is don't ever let that toolbar leave the tool rest. Keep it flat and don't rotate. You'll know if you did it. If it catches on you, it's because you lifted it or rotated it.
Right. John Skeen asks about Yorkshire Grit being only for resin. That is incorrect. The original in the black container is for wood, and you'll sand up to 1,000 grit using the Yorkshire Grit original. For resins, we'll use the microfine in the white container, and that will take you up to 2,000 grit. And you'll see that finish in just a few minutes here when Christy finishes that piece with our Yorkshire Grit microfine.
And the other thing I want to tell you, you can use both. There's nothing that says you can't if I don't know, maybe you didn't sand real well, or for whatever reason, you can put microfine over original as long as you always start with original. You don't need to, though. You can go to, with this piece, I'm just going right to microfine.
You don't need to, but I personally am one of those people that will use the original before I use microfine on any project.
And Christy, can you tell us what grits you're using on the sandpaper?
Absolutely. That first one was a 120. This is a 240. And then every once in a while, before you switch grits, a little cross. Anyone else do this? A little cross sand just to...
Oh, yeah.
Any sanding marks in there?
McCollum, the negative rakes are available on the Pro Series as well.
Correct.
Yes, they are. That would be the CI0 round, CI1 is the square, and CI4 is the diamond shape on the Pro Series. And they all come...
Hi, Nathan. Sorry. Was that Nathan McCollum?
Yep.
It just says McCollum Woodworking, so it doesn't have a first name.
Hi, Nathan.
Nathan.
And also Myra's on here, so we can't talk.
Myra's here.
Hi, Myra. Were you on when we talked about you before? We're destined to always see you, and we love that. Yeah, I'm now. This grit is I did 120, I did 240, 320. Again, I'm just using the Abernathy. I just like them because they don't gum up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're easy to rinse out or take the air compressor. I can get a few more uses out of them. Take the air hose and blow them out when I'm done. Any of you see that already looking pretty darn good. I could stop here. I'm going to go to 400.
The Abernathy's are the easiest to use of all the sandpapers.
So it's no surprise I'm using it, Chad.
I was going to say, you picked up on it good.
And actually, if you look at this blanket, it's almost Easywood Tools colors.
Yeah, it looks like it.
All right. So we're just going to do this. I know, it's like watching grass grow, watching some sand. If I had the full camera on, I could at least do a dance while I'm here.
Well, I don't know. Chris and I are keeping it pretty entertaining, so.
All right, good. I'm happy to see that because right now you guys have been troopers just staring at my hands for an hour. All right, so we're done here. I'm just gonna do that. I sanded to 400. I'm just gonna wipe this off. The one thing I'm gonna do for you, because I know it's pointless to show you the after if you're not looking at the before.
Oh, good idea.
So let me switch cameras because we all have learned by now that the other camera gives us a better up close, right? Here's the before. You can see that. So you'll have to remember before. And then, and just did a nice little flat top. Now I'm going to use Yorkshire Grit to get this back on and show you what Yorkshire Grit does. So I'm going to use original. I'm going right to microfine here. And always apply with paper towels. You never want to use a rag when you're doing lathe applications. That's my safety plug. I already pre-slice blue towels. To me, work the best. You want a free paper towel. And even though they're a little bit more money, I find that it saves me aggravation in the long run using the shop towels. So Yorkshire Grit Original, here's the inside. Just looks like a cream paste. I mean, sorry, that's microfine. For those of you that this is original, kind of looks like peanut butter. I'm going to kick this on first just to get any water out of there that may still have been on there. So Yorkshire Grit, I sanded to this one 400. I went a little further. You just take a little. I'm going to rub it on. It's an abrasive sanding paste. Even though it makes it look like it's a finish, it's actually not a finish. It's an abrasive sanding paste. Liquid sandpaper is the easiest way of describing it. Chris, why don't you, well, I can tell it, I guess, because I'm going to tell you what I'm doing here. The history of Yorkshire Grit. Have we talked about that yet?
We did not.
No, I was hoping you would.
So Yorkshire Grit, the product's been around for 8 years.
8 or 9 years.
9 years. Developed by a wonderful gentleman in the UK named Glenn Sr. I'm sure a lot of people on here have met him, know who he is. Great idea for a great product, very similar. You'll see a pattern here, how we roll. Had a great idea for a great product, which was Yorkshire Grit, the original blend, to reduce sanding, reduce airborne dust. By reducing sanding, you're putting less particles on you in the air and your lungs, so a little cleaner. Also, no harmful chemicals or ingredients that are in here. Makes it easy, makes it safe. So he had this great product, and he'd been producing it and selling it wildly popular in the UK. And in fact, Chris and I fell in love with this product about 6 years ago, Chris?
5, 6 years ago, something like that, when I was in the UK and Glenn gave me a sample to bring back to try.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing here, and then I'll my story. So right now, with my lathe speed around actually off, all I'm gonna do is I just took a little bit on my paper towel. I'm gonna rub it all over. I will warn you when you're putting beads on here, it does make it a little more complicated because you're getting stuff inside of it, but not impossible. So I rubbed it all over. I'm gonna work it in now at about 400 for about a minute or so. Then I'm gonna kick it up to about 700 for another minute working it in. Then I'm gonna take it off, and that's it. So we fell in love with the product. Chris went to the UK, brought some back, said, here, try this. We both fell in love with it. I mean, absolutely fell in love with it. And every time he'd go to the UK, get me some more Yorkshire Grit. We couldn't find it here. It was very limited availability in the US. So 2 years ago, Glenn approached us because he was selling it and he wanted to go to good hands. So we like to say we love the company so much, we believed in the product, that it was an easy decision for us to buy the business, to buy Yorkshire Grit. We moved manufacturing of it from the UK over to here. However, Glenn came over, we flew him over here, and he spent time here in Lexington helping us get set up and training our team here to ensure that we were making this identical with the same ingredients, the same steps, everything to he was doing in the UK. And that was 2 years ago. And now we've been able to increase. Now I'm turning the lathe up and continue working. By the way, Yorkshire Grit, you can hear it and feel it, especially the original, as it's breaking down. You couldn't hear it, I could. But I can feel it. The grit starts to go away. So I just kicked it up. Now I'm going to have to clean out my beads here. This is where being a woman and having fingernails does work. I just stick that right in my beads. The other thing that works is a Q-tip. So that's kind of the story on Yorkshire Grit. We've now been able to, by producing it here, we've actually been able to increase distribution globally, so that everyone who loves this product can ensure that they can get it. And do you know where you can get this product? At Turner's Warehouse.
I bet I know.
I
remember you guys sent me a can of that a couple of years ago, or whenever you took over, and I was so mad because I said, I don't want to use this. I'm happy with my finish, but I know I'm going to like it. And I use it all the time. I think you said a few words and went, darn it, it got me with another one. All right, now this last step is the most important step on whether you're using wood or resin. I took a clean towel, and now I'm taking it off. Now that I have the lathe up, it worked its magic. You have to remove the Yorkshire Grit. Very important in woods because you need to get all of the oils off of there before you put your finish on there. So you can see, not clean yet. I just keep rotating and working this until I've removed all the Yorkshire Grit. And I probably went a little longer than I needed to because sometimes I do have a problem talking and doing at the same time. Quite all right. But I want to make sure I covered all the steps with you. Just about done. There we go. She's clean. As soon as that paper towel is clean, that's what I was looking for. So you all saw the before. Now, let's wow you with the after. It'll make anything look like you're a pro. Oh, that looks good. Very nice. What is that material you used? I believe this was Alumilite. Okay. It's Alumilite, or is Alumilite polyester resin based? I always forget that one. I'm not a caster, I'll admit it. But I'm almost certain it's Alumilite. Chris?
Well, I'm not sure where we got that blank. We have so much material and so many blanks.
The wet turn, I'm pretty sure it's Alumilite.
So many sources. We have developed over the years quite a few fans of Easywood Tools and friends of ours personally. Mostly because of the things that we've developed. As you can imagine, when we developed the negative rate cutters, we grew close relationships with some very good casting people that are social media. One of them you see to the right shoulder of Chad, Resin Works Studio. Zach made a lot of the blanks that we did our original testing with. And
the guy right down below us, we have a lot of blanks from Chad.
Yep. before that,
Yeah.
they became part of our product testing as well, which was very important because guys like Resin Works Studio and Zach, he's a caster, but he doesn't promote himself as much of a turner. And that was important to us when we were doing our product testing because we didn't just want experts in turning trying what we're developing. We wanted some people that really had some struggles because we knew we'd get honest answers and honest feedback from people like that. So
Or those
people that
making
were
the
very
blanks
good
and
at
the
casting,
materials.
but not really turners, were ideal for our product testing.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
100%.
If you sent it to just pros, you wouldn't get real feedback from the average person.
Nope.
Right.
Well, Chris and Christy, I want to say thanks. This was an awesome demonstration, and I think everybody probably learned more than they thought they could about Easywood Tools and Yorkshire Grit and all that kind of stuff. If I did miss anyone's questions, let us know or reach out to Easywood. What's the best way to get a hold of you guys there? Is it through the customer service channels?
Absolutely. Customer service at easywoodtools.com is the best way to reach us, even Chris or I. If we're out and about, not always getting to a question, our team here will see it, either involve us or be able to help you.
Yeah, that is great. And it's so cool that you guys are willing to come on and do this and that you both are turners and use the product because it makes it just so much easier. Everything you've seen today, we do have at Turner's Warehouse. If you're in another country or you have a local dealer near you, check them out because I'm sure they're somewhere nearby you, but we can always ship if you need us to. Uh, Boy, I don't know what else I can say. Thanks, guys. That was awesome.
Thank you. We
Absolutely.
actually appreciate the opportunity. We love doing this, and this is the fun part. This is
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
the fun part. We love intermingling here with everybody out there. Again, if you had any questions we didn't get to, let us know. We'd be happy to come on again if there's something you want to see turned besides
Yeah.
the cup and a bottle stopper or anything you're dying to see us do. It's our
Yeah,
pleasure
absolutely.
to come and show you how to do it.
And we do have those chucks in stock, and I'll be doing more videos on those as well because I absolutely love the thing, but I could not do videos without having them in stock because I would just get hounded by where can I get them and having a store I had to refer them to myself. So uh, you'll see more videos on that. The chuck is amazing. It's made in America and it's just
It's
beyond
heavy.
belief quality. Yeah, it is heavy, certainly. But
You
thanks
could
again.
hurt somebody with it, and two sizes, one by 1 1/4 by 8 plus 2 metric sizes too.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you
Sure.
guys. If anyone has any other comments or questions, we've got just a sec here and then we will let everybody go. Christy, you're getting rave reviews. Everyone appreciated the demo and loved your show. So thanks so much. And Chris, we'll see you behind the lathe maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Next time he
Hey,
does.
Chad,
I'm telling you.
let's do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, sometime soon. I need to get out there and I want to turn with you guys. We could do like a relay of turning or something.
Yes.
Fun.
Love
Hey.
it. When are you coming
And of
out to
course,
Kentucky
I don't know. We need to do it. We need to make it happen. So we'll
or
see. That
Chicago?
could be a future thing for sure. So
We
Yeah.
call our shop in Chicago as R&D North.
there you go. That's perfect. All right. Well, everyone is very appreciative online and thanking you guys, and we can't thank you enough. Great demo, and of course the ornament contest. We always say thanks for supporting that so much. And I guess until next time.
Sounds great. Thank you,
All
everybody.
right.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Paul.
Thanks,
Thanks
Chad.
for joining us.
All right. Hold on one sec, guys. Thanks,
All right.
everybody. Bye. I'm just ending the stream.
No problem.